What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Avengers Endgame is the highest grossing film of all time, beating Avatar, which has held the record since 2010. Sorry, Jim. Sorry. There's a reason for the success of the MCU. The characters. Of the 23 films that are now coined the Infinity Saga, the core Marvel characters have been the primary players and are integral to the success of the franchise. From Iron Man to Captain America and Thor to the Hulk and Spider-Man, the MCU was built on the pillars of its biggest characters. Until now. Over the weekend, or for those watching in the future, San Diego Comic-Con 2019, Marvel announced their upcoming slate of new films, and the word best used to describe it is lacking. And our greatest fear for the MCU has also been realized. So here's the entire slate. Here it is. Look at it. And be underwhelmed. Some of these are films, and some of these are streaming shows exclusively for Disney+. So first up is the new Blade. I know a lot of people were hoping for the return of Wesley Snipes, myself included. Now you're probably thinking, if you have Wesley Snipes play Blade, then there's a timeline issue and continuity and blah blah blah. And I tell you that's irrelevant. J.K. Simmons is back as J. Jonah Jameson, and no one's upset over that. Are they? When I read the name of the actor who's playing Blade, Mahershala Ali, I had a Star-Lord moment. Then after a quick Google search, I was like, hey, that's the dude from Luke Cage. But then I looked a little further into his career, and he's a multiple-time Oscar winner and has an incredibly solid resume. While I did want Snipes back, at least they cast someone who is a good actor. Now the film, on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, a PG-13 Blade? I'm not sold. The last PG-13 vampire movie was Twilight, and those things sucked. Now maybe if the premise is Blade hunting down the sparkly vampires, that'd be cool. Well, wait. He's Batman now. So let's throw that idea out the window. Shit. On to what's next. We have Black Widow coming May of 2020. According to Marvel's official tweet, which is where I'll be getting all of the summaries from, Marvel Studios' Black Widow with Scarlett Johansson, David Harbour, Florence Pugh, O.T. Fabnelly, and Rachel Weisz, directed by Kate Shortland in theaters May 1st of 2020. This should have been Marvel's first female-led film. The audience already likes the Black Widow. She was great in Iron Man 2 and one of the founding Avengers. This movie just feels a little too late since, she died in Avengers Endgame. This raises the first concern I have with the MCU moving forward. Jumping timelines. The MCU was linear. Yes, there were flashback scenes, but the timeline was very easy to follow. The first hiccup was in Spider-Man Homecoming, where the story takes place 8 years after the Battle of New York, but that would put the film in 2020. And the Battle of New York was in... screw it doesn't matter anyway. Marvel isn't concerned with continuity, but floating timelines will confuse the audience. Next up is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, an original series with Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, and Daniel Bruhl, streaming exclusively on Disney Plus in fall of 2020. So it looks like Bucky and Sam are going to team up and face off against Zemo, aka the guy from Civil War. Cool concept. I like the chemistry from the heroes. I'm sort of sold on this one. The only problem is it's on Disney Plus. Now I know I could just sign up and watch the show next year, but all of these streaming services are a problem. I'm already signed up for 5, and Disney Plus is supposed to be like $7 a month, but the price isn't the problem. The problem is, I don't even watch the ones I'm already signed up for. If I watch 1 hour of Netflix a week, that's impressive. I get a little more use out of Hulu, but that's only because of King of the Hill. What we're facing is the choice paradox with streaming services. Choice paradox is a cognitive process in which people have a difficult time making a decision when faced with many options. Adding another streaming service to the mix doesn't help the problem. And speaking of problems, Netflix, the biggest streaming service of all, is facing one. Netflix lost a huge number of customers, but it won't resort to putting ads on the streaming service. Bloomberg has pieces about Netflix's latest earnings report, and the news isn't good. But it boils down to this. Netflix is hemorrhaging money and customers, and they might want to work on that. Here's more of a technical explanation. The shares plunged as much as 12%, tumbling towards the worst one-day drop in 3 years, after the company reported the loss of 130,000 customers in the US. Netflix blamed higher prices and weak slate of TV shows. It signed up 2.8 million subscribers internationally in the period, roughly half of what the company had predicted. This is the worst earnings report for Netflix since 2011, which is when they decided to split their physical disc mail from streaming. However, the folks at Netflix don't seem too concerned, at least not publicly. Netflix thinks their second quarter is going to pick up because of more exciting content, namely The Crown and Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. Still, the streaming giant isn't out of the woods. For one thing, they're soon going to have to contend with more competitors. Disney, Warner Brothers, and Apple are all launching their own services soon, and Netflix is losing titles like The Office and Friends in the process. So we're quickly reaching the point where we have too many streaming services. Luckily for us, sarcasm, if you want to watch this show, WandaVision, Hawkeye, or Loki, you're going to need Disney+. You'll also need Disney Plus if you want to watch What If, the first animated series in the MCU with Jeffrey Wright as the voice of the Watcher, and many actors from across the MCU reprising their roles as voice talent, streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, summer 2021. This is actually a cool concept. If you've never heard of What If, it's a series of comic books, published by Marvel Comics of course, whose stories explore how the Marvel Universe might have unfolded if key moments in its history had not occurred as they did in the mainstream continuity. This is an awesome concept. I mean, as a longtime reader, I saw this and I was genuinely happy. This could be amazing, but don't mistake my excitement for this one show as my feelings moving forward with the rest of the announcement. Next up is Eternals, with Angelina Jolie, Richard Madden, Kamali Nanjiani, Laura Rudolph, Brian Tyree Henry, Salma Hayek, Leah Mayhew, and Don Lee, directed by Chloe Zhao in theaters November 6, 2020. They'll try to sell this film on the star power. If you don't know anything about the Eternals, well, the basic story, from Wikipedia of course, is that when the Celestials visited Earth 5 million years ago and performed genetic experiments on early proto-humanity, they created two divergent races, the long-lived Eternals and the genetically unstable, monstrously grotesque Deviants. These experiments also led to the capacity for superpowered mutation in humans. They also performed this experiment on other planets such as the Kree and Skrull homeworlds with similar results. Mutations in humans. X-Men crossover confirmed. The Celestials were featured in Guardians of the Galaxy. After that is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Like Captain Marvel and Black Panther before that, this will be Marvel's early year first. By first, I mean another film that the media is going to get all preachy about. Representation this, first Asian actor that. I just realized something though. DC beat Marvel to the first modern big-budget female-led superhero flick in Wonder Woman, and they had the first Asian director in James Wan for Aquaman. Marvel really needs to catch up to DC. Said no one ever. Though I do see the tide turning in DC's favor. DC has a lineup of films that are all new takes on familiar characters, as well as continuations of Wonder Woman and Aquaman. But back to Shang-Chi. Mark my words, we'll have all the same representation garbage shoved down our throats. About how we've never had an Asian male lead, or anything before that, and all that other dumb shit. It all goes hand in hand with the post-Christmas slump of the new year. Thankfully, we've had real-life Asian superheroes like Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, and the man himself, Bruce Lee, so their arguments will be extra fun to pick apart. Now we're almost to the end, folks, don't worry, where we're going to cover the most heinous offender. But first, let's talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. With Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen, Scott Derrickson returns as director in theaters May 7th, 2021. Fun concept, it'll have great visuals, just like the first film, but also, like the first film, it won't be that big of a hit, comparatively speaking. Domestically, Doctor Strange comes in at number 17 of the 23 MCU films, and globally, number 15. Now let's not waste any more time and talk about the most realized film of Phase 4, Thor, Love and Thunder. First off, what a title. I mean, what a laughable title. Like many of you, I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, the first time I saw it. But like all comedy, jokes wear off after repeat viewings. That's the thing with a lot of the MCU. They're big event films that you see with a crowd, but not every joke works with each repeat viewing. The MCU began to sacrifice story for comedy around 2014. The films that have the least amount of humor seem to be the ones that have the most rewatchability, like The Winter Soldier or Civil War. But because the internet has latched onto the humor of Guardians of the Galaxy, the MCU changed direction, and it worked. But not for the reason you think. More on that later. Our greatest fear for the MCU has been realized. The MCU is getting weird. Or woke, as some would say. Others would say inclusive. I'd say dumb. The MCU is getting dumb because they're adapting shit no one likes. They've decided to forego the decades of available Marvel stories and begin adapting modern Marvel. Yay. Whiny websites like IGN will tell you what a piece of art Lady Thor was in the comics, while most fans will tell you that she was a piece of something else, and it floats. Now you may be sitting there thinking, Lady Thor? Dude, that's just Chris Hemsworth in a wig. No, I'm aware of Chris Hemsworth and his wig. Jane Foster, aka Natalie Portman, is now worthy to wield Mjolnir. Yes, that is newsworthy, but they're already trying to spin the story as the culture war rages on. Marvel announced Natalie Portman will reprise her role as Jane Foster in the upcoming Thor, Love and Thunder film, but she will not play the love interest. Instead, she will play a female Thor, and not everyone is happy about it. The announcement was made at San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday as Portman stood beside returning director Taika Waititi and star Chris Hemsworth. I've always had hammer envy, Portman said at the event, according to Variety. She will officially pick up the hammer in the upcoming film set for 2021, despite being absent from the more recent Thor and Avengers films. Portman introduced Jane Foster, an astrophysicist who falls for the superhero in Thor in 2011 and Thor: The Dark World in 2013. The decision to make Portman's character a superhero isn't necessarily surprising, as Jane Foster becomes Thor, the goddess of thunder, in the comic series. Despite that, many are disappointed with the announcement, calling it a ploy for diversity points. Thankfully, that's as woke as the kids would say the film will get. Seriously? Well, okay then, there's more. Valkyrie will be the MCU's first LGBTQ hero in Thor: Love and Thunder. You know, the more I read that title, the more I hate it. Love and Thunder. Oof. Marvel Studios' San Diego Comic-Con panel had no shortage of surprising announcements, including the official announcement of Thor: Love and Thunder. Franchise star Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Natalie Portman, and director Taika Waititi all arrived at San Diego Comic-Con to break the news, and Thompson dropped a pretty major tease in the process, as Thompson revealed her character Valkyrie's arc in the film will involve her seeking out a queen to rule alongside her in New Asgard. That's right, this officially makes Valkyrie the first LGBTQ superhero within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige later confirmed as much to IO9. The answer is yes, Feige explained. How that impacts the story remains to be seen with that level of representation you'll see across our films, not just Thor 4. I'm more excited by the prospect of a good story, not who fictional characters bang. Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure Marvel had an awesome Lady Asgardian who went by the name of Lady Sif. I really liked her. She was pretty cool, she kicked ass, and had an interesting love triangle dynamic going on with her, Thor, and Jane Foster. Too bad Marvel sacrificed that for Valkyrie and whatever the geek sites are going to gush over about representation. Now maybe it's just me, but I pay to see a movie for a story and or spectacle. I don't care about representation. I don't look like any of my favorite movie characters. I like them because they're all well written, well acted, and relatable on a deeper level, not ones based on looks. It trivializes minorities to say that the only thing worth representing about them is their sexuality. If a person's most interesting quality is their sexuality, they need to dig a little deeper. It's all superficial, and Marvel is falling victim to social media's obsession with identity. The most endearing thing about the Marvel superheroes is that they're the modern myth. They took themes, modernized them, and created timeless stories of their own. In a post-Star Wars world, creators have stopped looking at the past and tried to create brands without building a world that can be gleaned from eternally. The MCU doesn't have to be a slave to its source material, but they should be focused on crafting quality content that will stand the test of time. Now on to my final point. With this new wave of films, there's no big crossover planned, no endgame level event to look forward to, no big name heroes doing their thing, just a bunch of meandering and pandering. It all feels small, and some would say that's good to avoid burnout. I would disagree. I feel like without a big interconnected storyline and crossover, there's less urgency to see these films. Marvel films all felt like must-see events, so you wouldn't miss a part of the story. Breaking up the narrative between films and Disney Plus streaming shows makes watching everything a chore. That's why I feel the MCU has peaked. There's no continuations to latch onto. Captain America and Iron Man, they're both dead. Spider-Man isn't guaranteed to be coming back. What made the MCU special is gone. Endgame was the perfect ending for it all. Personally, I feel like now is the time to walk away. The day is saved, the story is told, and anything else is just excessive. It's been a hell of a run, and I'm ready to clock out. After all the announcements, I feel nothing. The only thing I'm thankful for is that there was no mention of Captain Marvel 2. So that's it for today, folks. This video was a little longer than usual, but there was a lot of stuff to cover, so I had to go deep, deep, deep undercover. If you understood that reference, you're my friend. But if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it all over social media. The question for today is, did you like anything from Comic-Con? Let's just stick with the MCU announcements for now. So down in the comments below, tell me what most excited you. And if nothing excited you and you want to leave, tell me why. You're going to say, well, I don't like Shang-Chi. I prefer Iron Fist. I would say, okay, that's fine. I've read both comic book series. I can see where you're coming from. Or you'd say, I'm not an Eternals fan. And I would say, I know what those characters are. I know who they are. I understand where you're coming from. So just let me know how you feel about all this stuff. You can't be guilted into being excited for Thor: Love and Thunder on this channel. And if you're excited, hey, more power to you. We'll talk about it at a later date. But before you go, folks, do the one thing that I always ask from each and every one of you. What is it? Well, it's simple, but I'm going to repeat it until everyone does. Go out into the world and be excellent to each other.